Welcome, everybody, to the Choose Greater Health podcast with Paige Spears.
Thank you, Emily. And this is Sandra, everyone. And Sandra, you can tell our audience about who you are and what you do for the brain injury community.
For the brain injury community, I like helping your brain feel and function better in a way that's totally different from anything that you have ever seen, probably. And I have been a massage therapist for 37 years, really doing energy work and getting into working with tuning forks more recently. And then this led me to work with people's brain issues. And I found that I'm really good at working with brain injuries and brain issues. And so I love helping people with that.
That's fascinating and a really solid approach in addition to standard medicine. Like in my experience, standard medicine saved my life when I had the blood clots that caused oxygen deprivation brain injury. And then once I was stable from that and had all the standard therapies, then the additional options that focused on the whole person took it from there to guide me toward thriving.
So feel drawn right now to talk more about the specifics of how I work with people in their brains.
Yeah, sounds
And
good.
yeah, so thinking about, what comes to mind right now is stroke, for example, where there's a bleed in an area of the brain, but it could also be like having a concussion. You can think of all of the stuff in your brain as normally having a certain amount of flow, so the cerebral spinal fluid surrounding the brain and all that stuff just moves. But when you have a stroke, for example, or a head injury, there's an area of the brain, possibly a lot of the area of the brain, where that flow is stuck. Thinking about a stroke where there's like a leak of blood into brain tissue.
As in
Blood,
hemorrhagic stroke.
yes, yes, where blood is toxic to brain tissue. It kills brain tissue. So just at a simple level, you have blood that goes into that area and the energy there is stuck. And there's probably going to be some physical blood, some dead tissue that's in that area that's stuck. I work with the movement of energy. And I have found in doing this work with the movement of energy that it also results in movement of the tissue, movement of the membranes, and movement out of the area of stuck blood, stuck dead tissue, whatever it is. I am working with people from wherever. So it's like I worked with somebody who'd had a stroke and she was in Switzerland and I was in Canada. So obviously I'm not doing anything hands-on. I'm just doing this, working with sound and my intention. And this person who'd had a stroke, it had been a month since her stroke when her husband had me start working with her. And I never actually talked with her even, to tell you the truth, which is wild. And I started doing this with her. And she couldn't walk and she couldn't talk. And so I started doing this on her from halfway across the world. And the next time I met her husband, I said, "Oh, she's starting to get better." And now she's normal. All of that function came back. So
Wow.
what did I do? Right? The same as I do whenever I am working with somebody for whatever head associated thing they have going on. I look at where is the energy stuck and where is the energy moving. And so in that sense, the area at the back of her brain, the area where vision and motion are affected, right? She had a stroke in that area. So I just felt the clogging there and I started pulling the stuff away, getting things moving. So, Paige said she wanted me to talk about what it would be like working with me. This is me talking about what I actually do. help things to move in your body. But before we get to that, I am also going to want to talk with you and find out what happened if you had an injury, if you had an accident, if you had a stroke, if you have headaches, what started that whole cycle of headache. I want to know as much as you know about what you have going on, so that that gives me more information to work with, more understanding of what might be going on with you. And
I had a
then,
lot of stuck energy with the blood clots in my lungs, for sure.
yes, yes. So, I'll just use Paige as an example. She's talking about having had blood clots in her lungs. Okay? So, when I'm working with someone like Paige and I do this, okay, I might sense, oh, there's this congestion here, or wherever it is. And energetically, I am helping that congestion to move. In the case of working with Paige, for a few minutes at the at the end of our meeting, I helped Paige get things moving in her body that were stuck. And so in the case of the lungs, maybe there being a little bit more ease in breathing. In the brain, a little bit more ability of the things that are stuck to be able to move, so that function can return. And a big part of what working with me is like is I help you understand what's going on with the body's functions, the physiology, the anatomy, what the actual parts are. Because, like with Paige, part of my intention in working with someone who's got brain issues is I want you to be able to help yourself. I love it when you want to work with me, but I also empower you to be able to help yourself. Because when you're having a problem at 2 o'clock in the morning, I am not going to be the person who is going to help you. Giving you things that you can do for yourself is how you then are able to have a better quality of life.
So the changes hold better. Yeah.
Yes. And that means that if you have an idea of what to do, you're able to reinforce what we do when we are together.
Yeah, that's some really powerful things that you do.
Yeah. So do you have more specific questions, Paige?
Well, how did you get interested in this line of work?
I have been a massage therapist for 37 years. And I started doing energy work like Reiki and energetic healing and intuitive work really early in that process. I have to say, I also have a bachelor's in chemistry. So I'm comfortable with talking about science and physiology and helping people to be able to understand these physiology parts. So I have that science background and this woo-woo energetic stuff that I do. And very early in my process as a practitioner, shortly after graduating from college with a science degree and getting into doing this energy work, I had to come to terms with, okay, there's this science stuff and logic and explaining things physically, but I also know that stuff like meridians and Reiki and energy stuff, it actually works. So I decided, okay, I'm going to have to be able to do both. So I'm comfortable in both of those worlds. And I think when it comes to working with people with their brains, that's actually really helpful. Being able to do the science and being able to do the energetic stuff.
And you're like what I want to do with bridging the gaps in care.
Yes. So it's like
there's a lot that standard medicine alone can't deal with or explain.
Yes. And science alone, they say, medical says they rely on science, but they don't necessarily always, because there are some science things that are kind of way out there from their perspective. So people like me enjoy bringing that other not so commonly used stuff, bringing that in.
And one being a foundation for the other.
Mm-hmm. And what inspired me to start working with people with head injuries and brains is I had already been started doing biofield tuning, which is this sound healing that I do. And somebody in Seattle who had had migraines ever since she was a baby, she was in her 40s, and she had had headaches, these migraines all the time, and they were debilitating. It kept her from being comfortable leaving her house because she never knew when she was going to have a headache, then it was going to shut her down. And she had a little girl, and got to be quiet, mommy's got a headache kind of stuff. So it really limited her life. And she decided to do 3 sessions of biofield tuning with me. This was the first time I had worked with anybody specifically for something relating to their brain. And she had a migraine the day that we had our first appointment. And I explained all the physiology to her. And then I started having her do what I want her to do. And so for those of you in the audience or watching, this is something I want you to start to be able to do. Because if you're watching this, you probably have some sort of brain related issue that you want help with. So the common thing for everybody who I work with their brain is I have them pay attention to the bone at the back of the head, the occiput, and the bone at the bottom of the spine, the sacrum. And you want to feel like there's a flow, a connection between the two. And when there's issues with the brain, the energy tends to get stuck in the brain. So when you allow that energy to flow through this area, it tends to get really stuck here at the base of the neck, and allow there to be that connection between the head and the sacrum, that alone may change your symptom picture substantially. So for you watching this, if you have head issues, brain issues, just do just that part, and you might find it makes a big difference. So I had her do that. And then I asked her, so how's your headache? And she said, it's starting to get better. We continued the session. By the end of the session, headache was gone. I did 2 more sessions with her. And about a month after, I called her and said, hey, how's your headaches? And she said, I can tell when it's coming, but I can stop it. She was able to stop herself from having the headache.
Just by bringing awareness to that energy flow?
Yes, she had incorporated that awareness that I taught her into her life, and she was able to prevent herself from having the headache. Imagine the change that makes in that person's life.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
Yeah. So that's what inspired me to start working with people in their brains. So I've worked with dyslexia. When I do something like dyslexia, I go and I do research. Okay, so in dyslexia, what's going on with the brain areas? Like which areas are overactive, which areas are underactive. And so how can I help the underactive one get more active and the overactive one calm down a little bit, and then wire them all together? And it actually helps.
And I've just read that impulsivity after a brain injury or in neurodiverse individuals can be energetically taxing to control. And that's why people are more impulsive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for each individual person with something related to head injury, symptoms, their brain, headaches, I want as much information as possible about the injury or the situation, about where you experience the headaches or the issues, just as much information as you know. I want it all. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to do some research and gather information from what's available scientifically about the brain and the nerves and whatever it is that's going on. So that as much as possible, I can help you to visualize what you want it to do.
That's really great to have a practitioner who goes into so much detail about each individual case.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in the medical system, that's not always our experience, right? That, we're a number for them and we see them for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And but it's really important to actually know the specifics of what's going on with you and also what your experience is.
Yeah, and that's why it's one of my business prerogatives and in life to bring together all the providers like you in one place so brain injury survivors can have access to more options.
Absolutely. Personalized solutions is what I think of it.
Yeah, like therapeutic horseback riding that I'll start again in a few weeks for the autumn session.
Yeah.
That's one really good resource that I've enjoyed coming back to after starting college as an equestrian major, and I had ridden a lot English style in high school before that. And it's really something special to be able to get on a horse and move on a horse the way I used to, and I've still got that going for me.
Horses are wonderful. I have done a little bit of biofield tuning with horses and
Mm-hmm.
remotely. So actually never with them in person or person to horse. Yeah, and they love it. So, the owner or the who was, the owner who has the horse, they'll have their phone, for example, there, and they'll show me, the horse, and then I tune, and the horse can hear the tuning fork sound through the speaker on the cell phone, and they look. It's so fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know horses, and at Cedar Creek where I ride, they get chiropractic adjustments. So
Mhm.
that's always interesting to see the parallel therapies for the between the horses and the people.
Yeah. And, people have a lot more holding mental and emotional blocks and beliefs and things like that
Hmm.
that get in our way
Yeah.
that block the healing. With animals, they don't have that so much. And so they have it's easier to heal things for animals because they don't have all of the stuff that
Hmm.
we people do.
Yeah, that also was part of my issue that I had anxiety even before the brain injury, although I realized that that was likely because of nutritional imbalances and
Hmm.
long-term antibiotics use and several different medical providers who were not in the loop about what all was going on with me. And so, of course, there were gaps in care between providers and prescriptions that kept getting refilled and maybe shouldn't have. And uh, I really would have appreciated a more holistic approach like nutritional psychiatry even back then.
Hmm. There is something else that's coming up to tell you in your audience, and I'm sure I've told you this, Paige. Um, there is something I call impact energy. When an injury happens, when an accident, an injury, or something like that happens, you take a moving object and you slam it into a non-moving object. Happens a lot of times when people get brain trauma. Okay, moving object slams into non-moving object, and the energy for the movement goes into the soft object, which is usually you. Okay,
I did
and
have
so
whiplash a number of years before.
yeah, and so the energy for that movement stores in the soft object, which is the person, which is your brain, which is your tendons and your muscles, and your actual tissue stores the energy of that that moving object. Okay? So I call this impact energy. And so I help people to be able to release from their body the impact energy that's stored in the area where you know you have injury plus anywhere else it may have stored. Now, when you have an injury, whether it's an accident or a stroke or, somebody chokes you or whatever that could have caused this injury, there's also things in your mind that you think about it, you believe about yourself. There's belief systems and judgments. There's things that doctors or medical practitioners tell you, right? There's all these different mental and emotional and thoughts and beliefs and other people's opinions, all these things. Okay. This all, in my opinion, okay, this all stores in the injury area, in the tissue that has been injured. So, like, for example, I was in a car accident, okay? And so I was in a car accident, and all of the judgments about myself that I have, oh, I did something wrong, I broke a law, I wasn't paying attention, whatever it is my belief system is saying, those judgments, as well as whatever doctors, other people tell me, say to me around this whole incident, all of that stores in your body, stores in the injury area. So for those of you who've had brain injuries, and all of the mental and emotional stuff you've had about it, all the things, mental and emotional stuff that your family has had about it, all the mental and emotional stuff that the medical practitioners and the friends and all of that stuff gets stuck in the tissue that is injured.
Luckily, also the digestive system for me, and I've also had quite a time with getting my hormones rebalanced.
So all of those systems of the body are affected by the beliefs, the thoughts, the emotions, all the things that people say to you. So helping you to be able to clear that stuff out of there so that as much as possible you can optimize how your body functions, how your body feels, and how it heals itself without all of that garbage from the past stuck in there. And it makes such a difference releasing that.
It's been a really great talk, Sandra.
Yeah.
And do you have any other last tips for our audience?
I find that when people have chronic issues, long-term things, and these brain injury issues can extend for a long period of time, that people understandably reach a point of not believing that they can get better, or not believing that they can change, or I just have to live with this. And it certainly doesn't help when medical practitioners tell you, oh, that's all you're going to get. You're going to have to live with this. I want people to know that to have hope, that it actually is possible to heal. No guarantees. I can't guarantee anything, but I can possibly help you resolve something so that there's at least just a decrease in the symptoms, increase in function. That is possible.
I have recovered a lot in the last 9.5 years, and things are still coming up, although I'm sure there's still the capacity to get better and make progress with it.
You are really exceptional, Paige, because you work on this all the time. And you've taken advantage of what the medical practitioners, the medical system is able to offer you, and then you've brought in all of the other energetic and holistic things. And, I think this is probably why you continue to improve. And that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm going for as much of the whole picture as possible.
Yeah. A lot of people give up, or they don't know what to do. And so to have people like you and the people that you associate with to say, no, you know what, there are resources, there are things to try here, is wonderful. The service that you provide.
And how can our audience connect with you also?
There is a free gift that you can get, 9 pain management secrets, relief strategies for high performers. So it's an email sequence, and you can get that through shinewithsandra.com/pain.
Sounds great. That was great to have you on, Sandra.
Yes, and if somebody wants to talk with me about working together, then I have a Freedom from Pain action plan call that I'm happy to do with them. So we can talk and see what's possible.
Okay.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Sandra.